something extraordinary has already begun moving beneath the surface. And if you have sensed that life suddenly feels different, trust that instinct, because what is unfolding over the next 24 hours reaches far beyond an ordinary astrological transit. This is not another planetary pattern that briefly captures attention before fading into memory. You are witnessing an exceptionally rare sequence of celestial alignments that arrive with remarkable precision, carrying enough transformational force to permanently redirect the lives of 3 specific zodiac signs. What makes this even more astonishing is that the process did not begin the moment you clicked on this video. It was already set into motion hours ago, quietly building momentum while countless people continued with their routines without realizing that the energetic landscape beneath them had completely shifted. On this day, July 5th, Mars forms an exact trine with Pluto, creating an opening unlike the typical interpretations often attached to astrology. This is not simply symbolic language or an abstract spiritual idea. It is a precise geometric relationship that establishes an unobstructed energetic current between the archetype of fearless action represented by Mars and the profound transformative authority of Pluto, the ruler of the underworld. Because this alignment unfolds through the air element, 3 zodiac signs stand directly within its strongest current, positioned to experience its influence in ways that will be impossible to ignore. Yet there is an essential truth hidden inside this portal that receives far less attention than it deserves. Missing this single detail could cause you to completely misunderstand the experiences unfolding in your own life at this very moment. We will return to that critical piece shortly, because understanding it changes everything. Before we get there, pause for a moment and reflect on how you have felt during the past 48 hours. Perhaps there has been an unusual current flowing through your body, almost as though invisible electricity has settled beneath your skin. Maybe your thoughts have been accelerating faster than your ability to organize them, leaving you feeling mentally awake while your physical self struggles to catch up. You may have noticed your nervous system behaving differently, almost as though it is connected with an unseen frequency that you cannot explain with ordinary logic. If any of this sounds familiar, it is not your imagination. There is a direct reason for these sensations, and every one of them connects to the astrological sequence reaching its next stage today. To understand why this moment carries so much weight, however, we first need to look back at what already unfolded. Many people assume that July 5th represents the beginning of the story, but that assumption misses the larger picture. The true ignition occurred on July 4th. Yesterday was not simply another square on the calendar. It was the instant when the first energetic explosion took place, launching a chain reaction that is still expanding. While many are waiting for today's headline event, the reality is that the process had already started before most people even realized anything had changed. Earlier on July 4th, Mars reached an exact conjunction with Uranus in Gemini. Sit with the significance of that for a moment. Mars embodies movement, determination, courage, impulse, and the irresistible desire to push forward, to build, to destroy obstacles, and to initiate change. Uranus represents sudden upheaval, radical innovation, unexpected revelations, technological breakthroughs, and the complete disruption of familiar patterns. When those 2 planetary forces unite, they generate an explosive surge capable of overturning assumptions in an instant. Because their meeting occurred in Gemini, the sign governing thought, communication, perception, information, and the way the mind interprets reality itself, the impact was concentrated within the realm of consciousness. This was never meant to be a gentle vibration. Imagine lightning striking the central control system of an entire city. That image comes much closer to describing the intensity of what occurred. If your day was interrupted by a conversation that seemed to arrive out of nowhere, if an unexpected realization shattered an old belief. if inspiration appeared with such intensity that it almost overwhelmed you, you were likely experiencing the psychological shockwave created by Mars joining Uranus. Many people opened their eyes on July 4th with the unmistakable feeling that something invisible had shifted overnight. Perhaps the atmosphere itself seemed unusually alive. Perhaps your mind wandered into possibilities you had never previously considered. Maybe someone spoke a sentence that instantly altered your perspective, or perhaps you found yourself saying words that surprised even you. In that exact moment, you may have recognized, without needing further proof, that life would not continue along the same path. Those experiences were not random coincidences. They reflected the precise timing of the conjunction releasing its energy into your mental landscape exactly as intended. Yet the conjunction itself represents only one chapter of a much larger unfolding process. Mars never remains still. After meeting Uranus, it continues its rapid journey, traveling the distance toward Pluto in approximately 31 hours. This movement carries tremendous significance because the disruptive force released during yesterday's conjunction is not left behind. Instead, it is gathered, intensified, compressed, and directed toward today's exact trine with Pluto. The confusion, instability, surprises, and emotional disruption experienced during the previous day were never meaningless interruptions. They became the very fuel required for what happens next. What initially appeared to be disorder is transformed into concentrated momentum, and on July the 5th, that accumulated energy activates something with remarkable staying power. Right now, you are crossing an invisible threshold between the shock introduced by Uranus and the profound empowerment waiting within Pluto's influence. Hidden between these two major alignments is another passage that countless people will overlook entirely, yet its role is absolutely essential. During tonight, Mars forms a sextile with Neptune in Aries. Think of this alignment as the bridge connecting two vastly different energetic states. The unpredictable electricity released over the previous 24 hours does not move directly into Pluto unchanged. Before reaching its destination, it passes through Neptune, where its sharpness begins to soften and its purpose becomes clearer. Neptune dissolves rigidity. It quiets the harsher edges of raw force and gradually reshapes them into intuition, imagination, spiritual vision, and a deeper form of understanding that cannot be reached through analysis alone. Instead of demanding that you think harder, this influence invites you to release control and trust a level of awareness that exists beneath ordinary reasoning. As evening unfolds, you may notice yourself entering an unusual psychological space, suspended somewhere between waking consciousness and dreaming, alert yet deeply inward at the same time. That sensation is not accidental. It reflects the bridge performing exactly the function it was designed to fulfill. During this state, insight may arrive without warning. You could receive a vivid mental image, experience an undeniable feeling within your heart, or simply know with complete certainty what direction you are meant to take next, even if you cannot explain how that certainty appeared. When that moment comes, resist the temptation to dismiss it as imagination or coincidence. Do not rush to explain it away through logic alone. Some forms of clarity emerge only after the mind becomes quiet enough to hear what has been waiting beneath the surface all along. And this remarkable sequence of planetary alignments is creating precisely the conditions for that deeper realization to reveal itself. What you have been sensing is not an illusion, and it is not simply heightened emotion. That quiet signal rising within you has been preparing your awareness for the moment that arrives today. Because once this next phase begins, the entire pattern shifts into something far more significant. The turning point comes on July 5th at 9 o'clock in the morning, when Mars reaches 4 degrees and 46 minutes of Gemini and forms an exact trine with Pluto positioned at 4 degrees and 46 minutes of Aquarius. At that precise instant, an extraordinary energetic pathway is established, linking your conscious intention with one of the deepest transformational forces available within the entire solar system. Although a trine is defined mathematically as a 120-degree relationship between planets, its influence extends far beyond geometry alone. It represents effortless cooperation. It removes unnecessary resistance. It quiets the exhausting struggle between personal ambition and the larger direction that life has been attempting to guide you toward. In this rare alignment, your own inner drive and the path unfolding before you no longer compete with one another. Instead, they merge with astonishing precision, creating the unsettling realization that what your soul has been seeking and what the universe has been preparing may finally be the very same destination. This is why the Mars Trine Pluto aspect has long been regarded as one of the most commanding combinations in astrology. When these two immense forces operate in harmony rather than opposition, they awaken a level of determination that many individuals never experience throughout an entire lifetime. This is not reckless force. It is not emotional volatility. It is disciplined conviction. It is the calm certainty that refuses to surrender regardless of external circumstances. It is the silent confidence that knows the destination has already been chosen, and every obstacle simply becomes another step toward its fulfillment. Yet even that remarkable description captures only part of what is taking place today, because this alignment is functioning as the key that unlocks a much larger celestial design hidden behind the scenes. Earlier, I mentioned that there was one essential piece of this story receiving far too little attention, and this is exactly where that missing piece reveals itself: the Mars Trine. Pluto occurring today does not stand alone as an isolated event. Instead, it activates a far more expansive geometric formation that has been slowly assembling across the heavens for well over a year. At this moment, 3 of the slowest and most influential outer planets occupy positions that create an extraordinary interconnected pattern. Uranus stands at approximately 4 degrees of Gemini. Neptune occupies 4 degrees of Aries. Pluto remains at 4 degrees of Aquarius. Notice how closely these degrees mirror one another. This is not an ordinary coincidence. The planet associated with revolution, the planet connected with vision and spiritual awareness, and the planet representing complete transformation have settled into an exceptionally precise relationship that appears only a small number of times within an entire century. Astrologers recognize this arrangement as a minor grand trine, while others refer to it as the magic triangle, because of the remarkable harmony generated when these planetary forces reinforce one another. The significance becomes even greater because Neptune approaches its retrograde station on July 7th. During the days immediately surrounding that station, Neptune appears almost motionless from our perspective on Earth. Rather than advancing steadily across the sky, it seems to pause, concentrating its influence with unusual intensity while remaining positioned at 4 degrees of Aries. That apparent stillness allows its symbolic energy to radiate with exceptional spiritual pressure directly into the triangular formation already connecting Uranus and Pluto. When Mars crossed the 4-degree point of Gemini today and continued moving through that exact region, it did far more than establish a single harmonious aspect with Pluto. It energized the entire structure simultaneously. Imagine entering a room already saturated with hidden potential and introducing the single spark capable of awakening everything waiting beneath the surface. Suddenly, the minor grand trine becomes fully engaged, and instead of responding to one isolated planetary conversation you are experiencing, the synchronized activation of revolution through Uranus vision, through Neptune, and transformational power through Pluto, all unfolding together within the same celestial framework. That is why the atmosphere surrounding this day feels so much larger than logic alone can explain. That is why so many people sense an invisible shift, before they can intellectually describe what has changed. Your body often recognizes profound transformation before your conscious mind finds the language to interpret it. The intensity you have been carrying is not imagined. It reflects a precise geometric relationship unfolding across the sky, one that amplifies multiple planetary influences into a single unified current. There is another important reason your experience may feel unusually accelerated right now, and understanding it explains why your thoughts seem to move with such relentless momentum. At this stage, every one of the slower outer planets has transitioned away from the earth and water elements. Uranus now occupies an air sign. Pluto also moves through an air sign. Neptune resides within a fire sign. Jupiter likewise stands in a fire sign. The result is an astrological environment almost completely free from the grounding influence typically supplied by earth and water. Symbolically, there is very little slowing the movement of ideas, inspiration, or energetic exchange. It can feel as though the ordinary mechanisms that once regulated your pace have temporarily disappeared. Thoughts surge forward with extraordinary speed. New possibilities appear before older ones have even been fully considered. Your nervous system may struggle to organize the sheer volume of insight arriving in rapid succession, because the energetic climate is emphasizing movement, communication, innovation, and inspiration far more than stability or emotional containment. Conversations seem charged with unusual significance. Every sentence carries greater impact. Information arrives with greater force, demanding immediate attention rather than passive observation. Mars, traveling through Gemini, magnifies this effect even further by energizing the mental realm itself. Under this placement, the mind becomes exceptionally responsive, exceptionally alert, and exceptionally capable of rapid adaptation. Language grows sharper. Decisions arrive more quickly. Reactions become faster than usual. At its highest expression, however, this placement is not encouraging conflict for its own sake. Instead, it strengthens your capacity to absorb new information, reorganize your understanding, and respond with remarkable speed to changing circumstances. If you have recently felt unable to quiet your thoughts, if moments of breathtaking insight have alternated with periods of complete mental overload, if your awareness seems to shift between brilliant certainty and overwhelming stimulation, there is a reason for that experience within the larger pattern unfolding today. What you are feeling is not evidence that something inside you is failing. It reflects the reality that your awareness is adapting to an entirely different level of energetic movement, preparing you for the next stage of this extraordinary sequence that has only just begun to reveal its full purpose. What has been happening inside your mind is far more significant than a temporary burst of inspiration. Beneath every restless thought and every sudden realization, an internal restructuring has been taking place, quietly reshaping the way your awareness receives and interprets reality. It may feel unfamiliar, because it is unfamiliar. Your usual patterns of perception are being expanded, so they can contain experiences that previously would have slipped beyond your understanding. As the energetic gateway reaches its fullest expression today, that process reaches its own point of completion, almost as though the final pieces of an intricate design suddenly click into their proper places. Yet there is an important paradox woven into this entire experience, and recognizing it may determine whether this extraordinary window becomes a genuine turning point or simply another intense moment that passes without lasting change. While Mars continues moving through Gemini and gathers extraordinary momentum, the ruler of Gemini itself, Mercury, is traveling backward in retrograde through Cancer. Mercury remains retrograde until July 23rd, and that single fact changes the entire emotional landscape surrounding everything else taking place. Cancer governs memory, emotional foundations, family inheritance, ancestral themes, and the stories carried from the past into the present. This means the incredible forward movement represented by Mars is not operating independently. Instead, it remains connected to something much older, something buried within your emotional history that refuses to be ignored. Imagine attempting to launch toward an entirely new future while a forgotten thread still ties you to an unfinished chapter behind you. That is the symbolic experience unfolding now. The universe is not denying your progress, nor is it withholding opportunity. Quite the opposite. It is opening the doorway while asking one final question before you cross it. Are you willing to face what you have carried for far too long before stepping into what comes next? The power is available. The opening is real. Yet the invitation comes with responsibility. You are being asked to bring every unresolved emotion, every lingering wound, every memory that still quietly shapes your decisions directly to the threshold. Rather than pretending those experiences never existed, you are encouraged to see them clearly, understand the role they played in your evolution, and consciously choose to leave them where they belong. Perhaps that explains why this week has felt emotionally unusual. Memories may have appeared without warning during ordinary moments. Conversations you believed were finished may have replayed repeatedly inside your mind. Faces from years ago may have returned through vivid dreams. A familiar sadness, longing, or nostalgia may have surfaced despite nothing in your current circumstances appearing to trigger it. None of those experiences are random interruptions. They reflect Mercury retrograde in Cancer, drawing hidden emotional roots upward so they can finally be seen. It is not interfering with your transformation. It is making genuine transformation possible. A future constructed upon pain that has never been acknowledged simply recreates the same emotional pattern under different circumstances. True breakthrough demands more than external change. It requires inner completion. Those who receive the greatest benefit from this remarkable portal will not be the individuals who ignore uncomfortable feelings in pursuit of constant optimism. They will be the ones courageous enough to hold two emotional realities at the same time. They will embrace the excitement of what lies ahead, while allowing themselves to fully experience the lingering ache connected to what must finally be released. That emotional balance represents the deeper initiation hidden within this astrological window. For Gemini, however, the experience becomes even more immediate. If your sun, moon, or rising sign is Gemini, the center of this extraordinary current passes directly through your life. There is no gentle way to describe the magnitude of what is unfolding, because Mars and Uranus are traveling through your first house, the realm associated with identity, physical presence, personal expression, and the way you move through the world. At the same time, both planets form an exact trine, with Pluto occupying your ninth house, the domain connected with higher understanding, philosophy, belief systems, and the broader perspective through which you interpret your existence. These planetary relationships describe far more than temporary excitement. They reveal the gradual ending of one version of yourself and the unmistakable emergence of another. The identity that carried you through previous chapters, and the person beginning to awaken now, cannot continue existing side by side forever. Somewhere inside you, that realization has already begun making itself known. Perhaps you have noticed growing impatience with situations that once seemed acceptable. Perhaps relationships that previously felt comfortable now seem strangely restrictive. Perhaps old definitions of who you believed yourself to be no longer fit the expanding awareness developing within you. These sensations are not signs of instability. They are evidence that your inner life has already begun moving beyond limitations that once appeared permanent. The conjunction between Mars and Uranus in your own sign represents one of the most energizing experiences available within astrology, because it electrifies your relationship with yourself. Yet the exact trine to Pluto ensures this awakening serves a meaningful purpose rather than producing disruption without direction. The process connects directly to the profound transformation unfolding ever since Pluto first entered Aquarius. Every realization has been preparing you for this moment. Every uncomfortable question has been leading toward greater authenticity. Your greatest opportunity now comes through complete honesty with yourself. Not the carefully managed version designed to satisfy everyone around you. Not the endlessly adaptable personality that changes shape to preserve harmony. Instead, you are invited to rediscover the self that exists beneath performance, beneath approval, beneath expectation. It is the voice that no longer measures every truth against possible criticism before speaking. It is the part of you that recognizes when something has completed its purpose and quietly walks away without constantly looking over its shoulder. Mercury retrograde, moving through your second house of personal value, adds one final lesson before this transformation becomes complete. The beliefs you have carried regarding your own worth are now being examined with extraordinary intensity. Old narratives encouraging you to diminish your own significance, to remain endlessly accommodating, or to seek validation outside yourself, cannot accompany you into the identity waiting on the other side of this passage. Those outdated definitions are reaching the end of their influence. Allow them to dissolve completely, because what emerges after their release may feel so unfamiliar that you barely recognize yourself, and that unfamiliarity is precisely how authentic transformation often begins. For Aquarius, the story unfolds differently, yet with equal depth. Pluto has entered your first house, and for some time now it has been reshaping your identity from the inside outward. You have likely felt that process in ways difficult to explain. Personas that once protected you have gradually lost their purpose. Emotional distance that previously felt safe has become increasingly difficult to maintain. Versions of yourself, built primarily around ideas, observation, or intellectual certainty, have slowly given way to a far more personal encounter with genuine inner power. Pluto has not been removing these layers to punish you. It has been clearing away everything that prevented your most authentic nature from standing fully in the light. Today, Mars and Uranus, traveling through your fifth house of creativity, romance, joyful self-expression, and personal sovereignty, form an exact trine with Pluto in your own sign. The timing could hardly be more significant. It is as though the universe is placing into your hands everything you've been preparing to receive throughout this long period of reconstruction. The opening emerging before you is deeply creative, profoundly personal, and impossible to experience only as an abstract concept. It demands expression through real choices, real courage, and real participation in the life you have been rebuilding from its very foundation. For Aquarius, the pressure building inside you may soon become impossible to ignore. An almost overwhelming desire to create something meaningful, to express yourself without restraint, or to take a leap that once seemed far too intimidating can suddenly feel stronger than fear itself. What once existed only as an idea floating quietly in the back of your mind may now insist on becoming reality. A creative vision that has remained unfinished could suddenly demand action. A romantic connection that once felt uncertain or merely interesting may transform into something impossible to dismiss, carrying an intensity that reaches far beneath the surface. Even more importantly, a part of your identity that has remained hidden behind groups, communities, shared ideals, or intellectual distance may finally step into the light. Instead of existing only as potential, your presence begins to announce itself with undeniable strength. The exact trine between Mars and Pluto supplies the endurance needed to support that emergence. This is not the brief excitement that appears one day and disappears the next. It is a deeper current, steady, instinctive, and remarkably persistent. It carries the kind of determination that no longer waits for approval or perfect timing, because it already understands that the moment has arrived. You have already endured the dismantling that Pluto demanded. The difficult chapters were preparing the foundation. What unfolds today represents the beginning of renewal. Libra, your experience completes the larger pattern created by these planetary movements. While Gemini and Aquarius host the primary transiting planets, you become the point where the harmonious geometry connects from both directions, creating a unique position within the overall design. In many ways, you become the place where immense transformational energy seeks equilibrium, although the balance being offered now may look very different from the definition you have relied upon in the past. Mars and Uranus energize your ninth house, drawing attention toward belief systems, higher learning, personal philosophy, and the continual expansion of perspective. Pluto occupies your fifth house, illuminating creativity, authentic self-expression, joy, and the courage to reveal your genuine nature. Together, these placements describe a profound realization. The methods you have relied upon to preserve peace are reaching their natural conclusion. This does not suggest that harmony has lost its value. Rather, it reveals that the version of harmony you have maintained often required sacrificing your own truth. Perhaps you agreed when your heart wanted to refuse. Perhaps you concealed disappointment behind polite smiles while frustration quietly accumulated beneath the surface. Perhaps protecting the comfort of others slowly became more important than honoring your own emotional reality. The Mars-Pluto trine changes that dynamic by awakening a form of courage that may have felt unavailable until now. It encourages honest communication. It strengthens your willingness to establish boundaries that once felt impossible to enforce. It supports the difficult decision to leave situations or relationships that appear healthy from the outside, while privately draining your spirit over many months or even years. At the same time, Saturn and Neptune, continuing their retrograde journey through your seventh house of partnerships, invite a serious review of every important relationship in your life. They ask questions that cannot be answered through habit alone. Who truly belongs beside you? Why have certain connections endured? Are they sustained by genuine love or by routine? Do they reflect authentic closeness or simply the fear of facing life alone? The energetic opening available today provides not only the honesty required to answer those questions, but also the inner strength necessary to act upon those answers without becoming consumed by guilt. Your greatest breakthrough arrives through a new understanding of harmony itself. Lasting peace is not created by avoiding uncomfortable conversations or endlessly preventing conflict. It is built through truth spoken with integrity. Once you stop performing the appearance of balance and begin living from authentic alignment, the areas of life that have remained motionless begin to move once again. As powerful as today's portal may be, it is important to understand that its influence does not disappear when the day ends. The exact Mars-Pluto trine serves as the spark. But the larger minor grand trine involving Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto remains active for many months beyond this moment. The doorway opening today continues inviting transformation throughout the remainder of the summer, into the fall, and further still. The experiences beginning now will continue unfolding over time, yet the decisions made during the next 48 hours establish the direction that process follows. Every choice made while this current is strongest helps determine where its momentum ultimately carries you. That is why conscious awareness matters so profoundly at this stage. The remarkable determination awakened by the Mars-Pluto trine possesses extraordinary potential. Properly directed, it can accomplish goals that once appeared impossible. Left entirely unchecked, however, the same intensity may unintentionally damage people or situations simply because its force becomes greater than its awareness. Remain present with yourself. Stay emotionally grounded, while Mercury retrograde continues revealing memories, unresolved feelings, and unfinished chapters from your past. Allow those experiences to be acknowledged with compassion before releasing them. Permit the conjunction with Uranus to dismantle whatever has genuinely completed its purpose. Welcome the sextile with Neptune, as it quietly reveals a vision extending beyond ordinary logic. Then, as the exact trine with Pluto fully establishes itself this morning, move forward consciously, recognizing the significance of the threshold before you. There is one final truth worth remembering. Planetary arrangements of this precision are extraordinarily uncommon. The last time these outer planets occupied this same geometric relationship across the air and fire signs occurred generations ago. You happen to be living during a period when an entirely new framework for the future is gradually taking shape, and today's choices allow you to contribute your own place within that unfolding structure. Do not allow hesitation, self-doubt, or attachment to an outdated version of yourself to persuade you that nothing has changed. The opportunity exists now. The current is already moving. The doorway has opened, and it will not pause while anyone decides whether they are ready. If you have remained here through this entire journey, thank you for sharing these moments with me. I truly appreciate the time and attention you have given to this message. If this exploration resonated with you, and you would like to continue discovering future astrological insights together, I warmly invite you to subscribe and become part of this growing community. I would also love to hear about your own experiences, reflections, or observations in the comments, because every perspective adds another layer to our collective understanding. Until we meet again, take good care of yourself. Stay open to what the universe continues revealing, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.